crazy.
No, and that's like something that I've noticed, like specifically the last like 2 years, and maybe it's as I've gotten more into like looking for stuff like this, I guess. But like the amount of people that are older and just assume that like the younger generations aren't doing anything because they're not doing the same things that they were doing is very frustrating because it's like no, they're actually like you made money and they're like building wealth. There's like a different level here. They're like you had a job, a 9 to 5 where you made money and you spent that money on what you needed to spend on. They're putting out
Yeah,
stuff that's going to continue to make them money for the rest of their life. It's actually like
exactly.
way smarter than like I don't know, it's just frustrating.
I think it's way cooler too. Like I feel like
Yeah.
it's way cooler, you know. Nah, bro, and that's facts too. Like, and I feel like a lot of us younger guys get a lot of slack within really whatever, even if it's music or just whatever. Like my grandfather comes over every Sunday and he talks about like, oh, how people don't work hard anymore because they can make $100,000 a year from their computer, and I'm like, well, Gramps, it's a different world we live in. You can't really judge people because they have a good job. And I know that you used to work roofs every day and like, be on the roof during the summertime and sweating your butt off, but it's a different time. Like they got robots that can do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't
And
know.
that's a piece of it too. Like a lot of those like labor intensive jobs are getting phased out. And so I think there's a part of it where they're like not saying your grandpa is like this, but a lot of the older generation like never took the time to think for themselves. And I think the further we've gotten down the line, the more like it was kind of like you should probably start thinking for yourself. And now it's like you have to at this point. Like no one, if
Yeah,
you have a job, if you have 9 to 5, they don't care if you come to work, if you like whatever happens in your life, like they just want you to be at work tomorrow. That's like end all be all. If you can create
yeah, man.
something that's like focused on you and revolves around you, then you provide a different level of value than just someone who punches a clock and does a job that anybody else in the facility can do, you know?
Yeah, man. My grandpa's for sure like that, bro. Like he never really thought for himself, bro. But and that's okay. I feel like that a lot of people were like that in his generation. But like I'm not gonna judge them for that. Just like they shouldn't judge us for like having it a little easier. And maybe it's not even easier. Maybe it's the same amount of brain work and the same amount of work. It's just different because they were doing labor and people who work on like computers or something are doing it a little bit different, you know. So I don't know. I think it's a lot of ways to look at it because like I was telling him people can make a social media video and make $1,000 from it. He's like, what? And he just goes on a rampage about how like back in his day. But I'm like, you're talking about the same generation where like you could buy a house for like
Yeah,
your
six.
1 year salary
Yeah,
could
yeah.
buy your whole house.
Yeah.
Like yeah, he was all like, yeah, I bought my first car for $100. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
different
Like,
times.
like we can't even get a steering wheel for that cost anymore.
like he told me his working salary paid off his full house in 1 year. And I'm like, Grandpa, that won't even that's unless somebody's making like $1 million a year, that's not happening this
That's
shit.
not
Like
happening. Yeah. And I think
yeah.
the other piece of it too that I think actually makes it harder is you working for something that's delayed. Like no matter what you're in, whether it's social media, it's music, or even like athletes. Like I get the frustrations of people who are like, "Oh my gosh, this kid's 22 and he's making 4 million a year," but it's like, yeah, he's 22, he's making 4 million a year. The majority of us, not all of us, obviously, some of us are born with situations where like we're like have stuff going on, we might be disabled or something. But the more majority of us all had an opportunity to invest 90% of our time into a sport that we loved and could have had a chance at making it and bet on ourselves and we didn't. So like you can't be
Exactly.
mad at somebody else who bet on themselves and put everything they had into it and made it. Like yeah, they're reaping it now, but they weren't, similar like you that you weren't going to parties, you weren't hanging out with friends, you were in the lab working. So you can't be mad at someone who puts 20 years in and now gets like a huge payout that's far superior when you wanted day one income. Like people don't even want to wait 2 weeks for a paycheck anymore, let alone like years where you're investing years in your time. People want like every week paycheck, and it's like you have to be willing to have that delayed payoff.
Yeah, man. I feel like instant gratification destroys a lot of people. They just want it now, and a lot of people have dreams that they want to chase, but the idea that they have to chase it for a long time and not get any money or attention or that scares them away. Oh well, I don't want to make music for 5 years and no one ever tells me I'm good and I never make a dollar. Well, maybe it's not for you. But I know that when you find something that you love, or maybe not even love, but you find a really huge interest in, if you're willing to wait, it always pays off. You know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. With that delayed gratification, I want to hear. I guess it doesn't have to be like your biggest goal, but what is like one goal that's kind of centered for you right now as far as your career goes?
Like just any goal, like nothing major, or
Like,
like
like the thing that when you wake up and feel like you don't want to make music today, that makes you like snaps you out of it, and you're like, oh, that's right. Like, I want this. Like, what's that thing?
I want to make a living off of my art. That's probably the number one thing that keeps me going. But like, yeah, man, I just want to make a living off my art. And when I say that, I mean like just reasonable amount of like money. Like my dream isn't to tour the world and go on tour every day. And my dream isn't to be a millionaire. My dream isn't to like live the life of like the little babies and the Drakes. My dream is to live a normal life, write songs, be able to pay my bills off of my music, travel whenever I want, and just support the people around me, and be a motivation for all the kids and even the older people that this is a possible thing.
No, I think that's awesome. I think that should be the goal. I think like if you really love what you do, I think that's the people that aren't in it for the attention at school or the attention with their peers. Like that's what they want. They want to get to the point where they can do what they love and like be stable off of it, and do what they want to do
Exactly.
and have that freedom.
Exactly, bro. Exactly.
Yeah. So if you had to share one thing with your fans, like one closing thing, what would that be? I mean, I guess you don't have to, but, this is what the question
Yeah, I
is.
mean, I might not. No, I
Yeah.
was just playing. I don't know, man. I would just tell them to just don't let go. If there's something that you really like or something you really enjoy, whether that be creating music, whether that be you know, being great in conversation. You want to start a podcast. You want to make beats. You want to work in IT. You want to get a job at Foot Locker. I don't know. If there's a dream you have, don't let go of it. In the world, to try to talk you out of it a lot of times because the people around you may not believe in that, and they might have an idea that what they dreamed for was too out of reach. So they'll try to tell you that what you're dreaming for is too out of reach. Don't listen to them. Don't let go. Never give up. Might take 10 years, might take one, might take 20. Never give up, guys.
And drink your milk.
Drink your milk always, man. Always, man. Yes,
Well,
sir.
thanks so much for hopping on. It was great getting to chat it up with you and hear some more about your music and who you are as a person. It was awesome to have you.
Man, thank you for having me, bro. I haven't had a good conversation like this and such a down to earth conversation like this in a really long time, bro. So, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you, bro, for real.
Well, thanks. I appreciate you. I'm
Yes,
looking
sir,
forward to
man.
more music and hearing more from you.
I got you, bro. I got you.
Yeah. All right. You have a blessed night.
You too, man. Love.